What's up, Ram fans? Welcome back to the Monday Night Sports Show. I'm Madeline Davis.
And I'm Brendon Fairbairn. Rams football, soccer, and volleyball are all on a roll. Watch us break down how each squad secured yet another victory.
Missed Moments returns for the second straight week to get you caught up on everything from the WNBA Finals to the CSU swim and dive team.
And to end off the night, Hot or Not is back yet again to give us some more CSU-related hot takes. All of that and more in CTV Sports starting right now. After starting the season with 2 disappointing defeats, CSU football now sits atop of the Mountain West standings after dominant wins over San Jose State and New Mexico for the 11th straight time. The impressive victories evens the Rams' record at 3-3, but more importantly to 2-0 in conference play. In this one, the Rams' defense put up historic performance, allowing only 69 total yards on offense, the second least allowed in program history. And with the near shutout, obviously came the turnovers. With 3 for CSU on the night, Marshawn Cameron got the turnover party going early in the first with an interception on Lobos QB CJ Montez, who was making his first career start. The third quarter wasn't much kinder to the young signal caller either, seeing the first start jitters continue with a fumbled snap deep in New Mexico territory. And late in the fourth, Logan Stewart had a perfect read on Montez and made an acrobatic catch and returned it all the way to the Lobos' 10-yard line. With all this in mind, this one should have been a shutout. The only points for New Mexico came from their special teams unit, when true freshman Luke Wysong returned a Stonehouse punt 63 yards to the house. Wycon fielded the ball on the far left of the field, ran horizontally for a bit, and eventually found an opening, dodging and weaving through multiple Ram defenders to get the Lobos on board. But even though the Rams special team struggled a bit, their offense was just as impressive as their defense. David Bailey returned after 2 weeks off and took on a bigger role after Ajon Vivens was hurt in the second quarter, pitching in for 21 carries, 58 yards, and 2 scores. Number 5's bruising style of running worked perfectly against an undersized Lobos defense. And they also didn't have any answers for QB Todd Centeo, who seems to become a better passer every single week. On Saturday, he had 289 passing yards and a touchdown pass to Gary Williams, while Trey McBride did what he does best, battling his way for a career-high 7 catches for 135 yards. By the time the clock hit triple zeros, the Rams ended with 452 yards of total offense and, more importantly, 0 turnovers. With this complete performance, it's critical that CSU takes this momentum into Friday when they travel to Utah State to take on the 4-2 Aggies. This will be their first real conference test, and they can make a statement to the whole Mountain West with a road victory over a solid Aggie team. Madeline, I am honestly really shocked, but also it's really good to see that the Rams are playing such good football, especially winning their first 2 consecutive games since 2019.
Wow, yeah. I don't know. At the beginning of the year I was really underwhelmed, but like after the San Jose State game at home, I was pretty impressed, and honestly, I was pretty impressed with Todd Centeo's performance.
Yeah, they're doing what good teams do. They blow out bad teams, but like I said, Utah State's going to be the real test. I'm really excited to see how they match up against their good receiving core.
Yeah, for sure. It's gonna be fun. Well, switching things up to some news in Rams volleyball, after yet another home sweep against the New Mexico Lobos on Thursday to secure the #1 spot in the Mountain West, CSU was back at Moby on Saturday to take on in-state rivals Air Force. The Falcons came into this one sitting at second to last in the conference standings, making it no surprise whatsoever that the Rams absolutely dominated this match. Just like Thursday, CSU started things out aggressive early to take a quick lead in both the first and second set, allowing them to sprint to the end without letting the Falcons even make things remotely close. But in the third set, though, Air Force actually fought back, going on an 0-4 run to start before the Rams came back in a hurry, closing the third round 25-15 to take the match dub. On Saturday, CSU collected 39 kills on 86 attempts to lead them to a super solid .326 hitting percentage compared to the Falcons' embarrassing .049. And on the individual side, sophomore Kennedy Stanford led the Rams with 11 kills, while junior Annie Sullivan was right behind her with 9 to fuel the home squad. With that, CSU is on a roll right now, and they'll continue their tear through the Mountain West when they make the trip out west to California to take on the San Diego State Aztecs this Thursday at 8 in the evening. Yeah, Brendon, I'm really excited for our volleyball team right now.
Yeah, so am I. After they started the season really slow, especially those losses to CU, I was like, I don't know how they were going to end, but 7-1 in conference play is ridiculous, and I think they could win the Mountain West.
Oh, I totally agree. I mean, they are just on a roll, and they keep sweeping after, they just keep having sweep after sweep. And, the thing is, especially, in that New Mexico match, New Mexico was also 5-1 in conference play, and they completely destroyed them.
Exactly. That's exactly what good teams do, and I'm really excited to see how they play against the Aztecs and finish off the season with, I think there's 3 more games left.
Yeah, something like that.
Moving on, volleyball isn't the only team making a run up the ranks in conference play. Rams soccer moved to 3rd in the Mountain West after beating the Nevada Wolfpack 3-2 on Friday afternoon. On what was a sunny day on the field, the home team's offense came out firing, putting up 15 shots in the first half and 4 on goal. In the 37th minute, the match's stalemate was finally broken after Gracie Armstrong took an assist from Liv Layton and buried it into the back of the net. And 3 minutes later, the scoring continued with Kristen Noonan putting up a score of her own to make it 2-0. But right before the half, Nevada midfielder Casey Crawford scored to cut the deficit to only 1. And the Wolfpack took that momentum into the second half, scoring again just 4 minutes after their first goal to tie things up. But CSU didn't take long at all to recollect themselves, with Caitlin Abrams scoring the game-deciding goal less than 15 seconds later to lead the Rams to victory. Other than the back-to-back goals allowed by CSU, the defense still played well, especially freshman goalkeeper Shayna Ross, who faced 17 shots with 6 of them being on goal. She had 4 saves on the afternoon, and she's been a huge factor behind the Rams' winning streak. For Rams senior forward Kristen Noonan, focusing on the little things and making sure everyone does their jobs has been their key to their recent run of success.
I think just focusing on the little things and making sure we're executing our individual goals, because I think if we simplify it like our coaches have instilled in us, I think we can really continue to be successful.
CSU has certainly been doing the little things right, and it shows in their conference record. Kristen Noonan and the Rams took their 4-game win streak into their matchup against the UNLV Rebels on Sunday afternoon. Madeline, what happened in that one?
Yeah, Brendon. Well, the Rams came into yesterday on fire, hoping to improve their streak to 5 on their last home game of the season. The first half was quiet for both teams in this one, with 5 shots taken by CSU and only 2 by UNLV. With the 0-0 score at the half, it was apparent that in order to gain that 5th win in a row, the Rams were going to have to be a little more aggressive. And in the 71st minute of the game, they did just that. Senior forward Kristen Noonan scored what was looking like her last home goal of her CSU career to give the Rams a 1-0 lead. The home team held this for a solid 10 minutes before UNLV tied the game with a goal of their own. With a tie at 1-1 at the 90-minute mark, things went into overtime. And 8 minutes into the first half of the 20-minute overtime, Noonan saw the goal once again, giving CSU a 2-1 lead that they would hold until the end. This dub not only pushes the Rams' winning streak to 5, but it also finally puts their record over 500 at 6-5-2. Coming up, CSU hopes to improve their Mountain West record and increase their winning ways even further when they travel to Utah to take on the Aggies this Thursday at 4. Not gonna lie, at the beginning of the season, I was pretty disappointed with our soccer team. It was just like tie, shutout.
Exactly.
They weren't even
I was
scoring.
thinking the same. That's kind of like the volleyball team.
Yeah.
They started off slow, and then boom, conference record and conference cup, and that's when it matters the most. And when you play when it matters the most, That's all that matters.
Yeah, ever since that win against, I think it was San Jose State, they've really just you can see that they've gained confidence, and I think they've meshed more as a team since that one as well.
Honestly, I think it's freshman goalkeeper Shayna Ross.
No, for sure. She's definitely been the key. Some of the saves she's been making are incredible.
I know, right? Even on the highlights when she caught that ball just right in front of her face.
Yeah.
I have to give her props, and she's going to be in good hands for the next 4 years.
Oh,
with the
for
Rams.
sure. Yeah. I'm really excited.
So am I. Now on to some pro ball. The Denver Broncos lost their third straight game yesterday in embarrassing fashion against division rival the Las Vegas Raiders, 34-24. And all this was despite the Raiders having Richard Bisaccia as their interim head coach following John Gruden's resignation earlier last week. The Raiders didn't miss a step in this one and dominated the Broncos at all 3 phases on the afternoon. The Raiders did start the game off hot after Derek Carr finds Henry Ruggs for a 48-yard touchdown pass. The speedster from Alabama starts it off 7-0. The Denver Broncos do respond on the next drive when Teddy Bridgewater finds Tim Patrick on the right sideline for a 24-yard touchdown pass. This was the Broncos' first opening drive touchdown since 2019, Tim Patrick's third of the season. The Raiders did end the first half just as strong when Derek Carr finds Kenyon Drake on a deep wheel route on the left side of the hash. The Raiders enter the half 17-7. They do take that momentum into the third quarter after Kenyon Drake hits an 18-yard touchdown run to make it 24-7, his second touchdown of the afternoon. Josh Jacobs also steps on the Broncos' throat to end the third quarter, making it 31-10 after a 4-yard touchdown run. Broncos were not done yet, though. Teddy Bridgewater finds Cortland Sutton for a 12-yard touchdown pass going through 3 defenders, making it 17-31. Raiders do end the game on the following possession with a field goal. Vegas ended the afternoon with 426 total yards on offense, while the Broncos ended pretty close at 421. But like the last few weeks, most of their yards came in garbage time. The Raiders just played sound football with 0 turnovers and moved the ball efficiently. And that was plenty to knock off this Denver team. Denver, on the other hand, had 4 turnovers, all coming from QB Teddy Bridgewater. The Broncos have a lot of problems on every aspect of the franchise, especially with coaching. And if Vic Fangio doesn't fix things soon, he should be out of the door before the season even ends. As of now, Denver drops to 3rd place in the AFC West, and the Kansas City Chiefs aren't far behind them, also sitting at 3-3. Denver has a short week ahead of them to fix their mistakes, traveling to Ohio to take on the Cleveland Browns on Thursday Night Football. We'll see really soon how Coach Fangio and his team responds to 3 straight losses. And that's all I have on the Broncos, but don't go anywhere just yet. Madeline has some missed moments to tell you about right after this short commercial break.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
You haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org.
Welcome back from the break, Ram fans, and back to yet another installment of Missed Moments, where I'm here to get you caught up on everything you may have missed last week in the crazy world of sports. Let's start with some local news for once and talk about how the women's swim and dive team here at CSU is undefeated. Yeah, that's right, our swim team is 10-0. On Saturday, the Rams headed down the road to Golden, where they competed in a double duel hosted by the Colorado School of Mines and the University of Mary. By meet's end, the Rams had absolutely dominated the Miners with a final count of 120-49, and they later took down the Marauders in similar fashion, 122-47. This W was in part to race wins from an impressive 10 different CSU athletes. And with the victories this weekend, the Rams jumped to 10-0 on the season, their first 10-0 start in 20 years. Now, if you're like me and didn't realize how dominant our swim team was until now and want to be there to support them, you have one last chance to do so when the Rams return home this Friday to host their last home meet of the season against Idaho. And the swim team was not the only women's team here at CSU that found some success on the road this weekend. The tennis team was down in Vegas playing at the ITA Regional Championships on both the singles and doubles side of the bracket. And in the doubles finals, it was all Rams. Junior Radka Bushkova played with grad student Matija Bahalovic against fellow grad student and junior pair Saka Riktorova and Summer Dalabanya. In the end, it was Bushkova and Mihalovic that took the title 6-2, 6-4, thanks in part to this being Riktorova and Dalabanya's first time playing together. But the battle still showed that there was easy chemistry between the two, adding depth to the team's lineup and giving CSU tennis fans hope for the future. The Rams will take some time off before traveling down to New Mexico for the New Mexico Fall Invitational, October 29th through 31st. And now, doing what we usually do on Missed Moments, let's talk about some pro action. The WNBA Finals went down yesterday between the Chicago Sky and Phoenix Mercury coming into yesterday's matchup. Chicago was leading the best-of-5 series 2-1, meaning that if they could secure a win, they would take home their first WNBA title. To say that this was a thrilling game would probably be an understatement. Things started out very close with Phoenix leading at the end of the first quarter by 2, and the second quarter was much of the same. A lot of back and forth action until Phoenix went on a 9-0 run to put them up 44-37 at the half. At this point, it looked like the Mercury was going to push the series to a Game 5, and while the Sky tried to make a comeback in the third quarter, the Mercury were able to maintain their lead for the whole quarter, putting them up 9 heading into the fourth. But while this game was looking good for the Mercury, the Sky did not quit. With about 2 minutes left on the clock, Kalea Copper made a layup after several missed attempts from Phoenix to put her team up within 3. And with just under 2 minutes left to go, star guard Candace Parker banked in a 26-foot three-pointer to tie the game for Chicago. The Sky later tacked on 2 more layups to put them up by 4 with 45 seconds left on the clock. At this point, it looked like the Sky had it in the bag until Phoenix's Diana Taurasi was fouled, allowing her to attempt 3 free throws and give herself the opportunity to put her team within 1. Unfortunately for Mercury fans, she ended up missing the third, which let Chicago maintain that 2-point lead. And ultimately, they later secured 1 more layup and 2 more free throws to take Game 4 80-74, securing the franchise's first WNBA championship title since the team's creation in 2006. What a way to end the year off. And well, Ram fans, that's all the missed moments I have for this week. But don't get up just yet, because after the break, Brendon will be right here to give you 3 more players to help out your fantasy team. You won't want to miss it.
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Thanks for sticking with us after the break, and welcome back to the Waiver Wire. It blows my mind that it's already week 7 of the NFL season. Bye weeks are starting to pile up, and that means picking up players on waivers has never been so important, especially with how many injuries we've seen already. With that in mind, here are 3 guys that can fill in for your starters and help you get back to the top of your division real fast. Let's start things off with an obscure pick. The Washington football team's backup tight end, Ricky Seals-Jones. I picked him up Saturday night after I had to replace Logan Thomas once he hit IR, and surprisingly, the tight end out of Texas A&M helped my fantasy squad find a much-needed victory. Going for 15.8 fantasy points on 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a score. Oh, and he also had a solid game last week against the Saints with 5 catches on 41 yards. Seals-Jones is also seeing a lot of targets with 15 in the last 2 games. Now, he does have a hard matchup against the Packers upcoming. Green Bay is the 4th best in the league when it comes to fantasy points allowed to tight ends, but I still believe he deserves to be a streaming option due to his experience and how many looks he gets. As of now, he was only owned in 19% of leagues, but with more and more bye weeks coming up, I would make a claim for him ASAP. He's going to go quick. On to number 2. If you have Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, Josh Allen, or Kirk Cousins as your starting fantasy quarterback, you'll need to find someone else to start this week with them all sitting out with buys. If you don't have a plan B on your bench right now, don't worry. Mac Jones is here to save your team. He obviously isn't a long-term answer, but he can get the job done with a date against the struggling New York Jets in Week 7. In his last 2 matchups, he has 26.3 fantasy points with 460 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pair of interceptions. See, those aren't fantastic numbers, but I think he can have better fantasy production against some of these lesser opponents. As of now, the Jets allow the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks and the 5th most passing touchdowns in the league. Any QB should easily drop more than 20 fantasy points against this weak Jets secondary. And this is exactly why Mac Jones is a perfect replacement for just this week. After Game 7, you could drop him and never use him, forget about him. But right now, Jones is only rostered in 12% of leagues, and I don't see many people making claims for him. He should be fairly easy to pick up on waivers. My final waiver wire recommendation is more of a keep him on your bench for a few weeks and see what he can do because he has the possibility of exploding. Of course, I'm talking about Ravens rookie wideout Rashad Bateman. The University of Minnesota product and first-round pick made his first start this week against the Los Angeles Chargers after suffering a hamstring injury last month. And in his first action as a pro, he caught 4 passes on 6 targets for 29 yards, also tying tight end Mark Andrews for the most targets on the team. Those obviously aren't game-changing stats, but with Lamar Jackson having the best passing season of his career so far, he's definitely worth a look. Also, you got to look at it this way. All of his catches were for first down, which is only going to build the trust between him and Lamar. Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews are the clear favorite targets for Jackson, but Bateman being so heavily involved in his first game is a sign for a breakout in the future. He's already rostered in 14% of leagues after his first career start. So it's not long before he blows up and many people stash him away. Take my advice. Beat them to the punch. Bateman can easily be that X factor to get your team into the playoffs and make a run for the title. Okay, that's all the players I have for you this week, but be sure to check out my weekly article on the Collegian for more fantasy coverage. And don't go anywhere just yet. After the break, Madeline and I returned on the desk for Hot or Not. You won't want to miss it.
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back, Ram fans, to Hot or Not. I had some time to think about my hot take since I wasn't here last week, and I thought this would be a perfect one for everything that's been going on the gridiron for the Rams. I was pessimistic earlier on in the season, but I think CSU football can make a bowl game this year if they keep playing how they are now. Madeline, of course, I'm not talking about the Rose Bowl or the Sugar Bowl, anything like that. I'm talking more Myrtle Beach, New Mexico, Liberty Bowl. I think, San Diego State and Air Force just recently got their bowl game eligible. Do you think the Rams can join them?
I don't know. It's going to be tough, but I don't want to say that it's out of question. Like, I think that if you were to ask me this 2 weeks ago, I would say, oh, this is a hotter take than being 500. But
that's fair.
But I don't know. Like, as they're improving every week.
Yeah.
And, like, that's so obvious. I think that after next week, we'll really see for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I was looking at the Mountain West standings, and right now they're fourth. They have the fourth best defense in the Mountain West. In the last few years, they usually have the worst defense. That's when, Mike Bobo, he was more of an offensive-heavy coach, but I really like this defense. They have the second most sacks in the Mountain West. But their offense is still kind of lacking. I think that's coming from Todd Centeio. He's still, like I said, he is improving. Don't get me wrong. But I still think he still has a long way, and this is his last year, so you kind of got to ride it out. And they do have a good running attack, especially with David Bailey back, but A.J. Vivens, he's out now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really hard to see. I really think if they can beat Boise, Nevada, and Air Force, if they could beat 2 out of those 3 teams, I think they could be bowl game eligible.
I think if they beat Air Force for sure. I mean, Air Force is having a pretty good season.
Yeah.
Like, if they beat Air Force, they're a real deal.
Well, the thing is, they don't even need to beat them. They just have to make it competitive. Yeah, they just got to make it competitive because San Diego State, they're ranked right now. They are ranked. Really? Yeah, they're in the top 25. And I think a good thing that's helping CSU right now is Iowa dropped out of the top 10. They were ranked number 2 last week, and then Purdue beat them.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think CSU kind of exposed them because CSU was supposed to get blown out. Iowa's 24-point favorites. And then CSU makes it within 10 and has the lead at halftime. I think the CSU football team is one of the best we've seen since 2014.
Honestly, I agree. And I like, as much as people want to throw it on Adazio, I think he's kind of a good coach.
Yeah.
Like, I think that he's, like, brought this team together. And, I mean, you can definitely tell in, like, all those, like, locker room celebration videos, like, they definitely have, like, a tight-knit group there.
Yeah, they have, like, a brotherhood. Every night before the game, they have a dinner together. And Adazio, I just love how his press conferences go. Yeah. He motivates me when he talks to the media. So I really think, honestly, if they can, like I said, beat any of those 3 teams, they're going to be bowl game eligible. I really hope you're right. We'll be there.
Well, okay, now it's time for something that I'm really passionate about. Baseball, obviously. And I think that the new designated hitter rule that they're introducing next year for the AL and the NL is, honestly, it's kind of ruining the sport.
Okay, why do you think it's ruining the sport? Because that's a big take, like ruining the whole sport of baseball. How is it ruining it? I think it takes away from the strategy aspect and like what makes the NL so special. Like if you watch the AL, you think of all the big players. You think of Mike Trout, you think of Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge on the Yankees. They're all big hitters. What do? They don't all necessarily DH. Giancarlo Stanton does. Judge and Trout, they play. But still, you think of them for hitting their home runs, not their defensive players. When you think of the NL, what do you think of? You think of the defensive players. You get some offense in there. Yeah, Nolan. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of that. You get that. But I think that it also takes away from the excitement of watching the pitchers hit. Like I know that everybody says, oh, they're going to get injured and whatnot. But like Herman Marquez hit a home run off of Yu Darvish. Yu Darvish is a pitcher that was an all-star. He went to the all-star game this year, and Herman Marquez, that relief pitcher in San Diego that hit a grand slam off of Max Scherzer, with the DH, that's all going to go away. Yeah, but don't you think it'll be more competitive though once there is more designated hitters, or I should say more competitive, more offensively, and I think that's kind of what the fans want. I guess, and it's probably going to be one of those things that like it happens, and I hate it at first, but then CJ Cron is the DH and he hits 45 home runs in the season, and I'm like, oh, this is the best thing we've had. But right now I just think it takes away from the strategy, and it takes away from like determining, if you're in the 5th inning, if you're in the 5th inning, you have bases loaded, 2 outs. The next spot is the pitcher. You're down by 1. Exactly.
You as that manager, you have to make a decision. Do you keep in our pitcher because he's pitching well, or do you pull him to get that offensive stuff? What is in that? And having the DH just takes that all away.
Yeah, because you can have a pitcher in your next lineup, and it's the bottom of the ninth, and then boom, you can put Bryce Harper in, and bam, and then I think that kind of gets it. Honestly, I'm excited to see this new rule change, but we'll see how it does. We have until another season to see how it goes. But next week, we'll see how the Braves are doing. I got some money on that one. But that is all the time we have for tonight's show. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for Bleacher Beat with Brandon Cruz. Take care, Ram fans, and we'll see you next week.